Hey guys, I am Dr. Anthony Gustin.
And I'm Chris Irvin,
the ketologist, and we are here today to talk to you about dairy on keto, what you can be eating, what you should be eating, the food quality of dairy, as well as can you tolerate it as a human?
Yeah, I think that's probably the first and most important question is whether or not you can have dairy on keto. I think a lot of people are wondering that.
Cool, let's jump into it. I think the biggest thing that you should do is get to a point of kind of stasis with your diet and make sure you're not doing a lot of crazy changes. So if you're just eating into keto, you're eating dairy already and you don't want to cut it out entirely, that's fine. If you want to cut it out, that's fine too. I would recommend just removing it, especially for the first 30 days or so, and getting a clean slate while you're trying to figure out how much protein you're going to be eating, how much fat you're going to be eating, the types of foods you're going to be eating. Getting into ketosis is a lot of changes. And so I would say get some stability first, try to remove the dairy, and then notice kind of what's clearing up in your diet. So you start probably losing some fat, maybe your skin clarity will get better, maybe your digestion will improve. All of these things can happen on keto, but they can also get better or worse with removing dairy. Mm-hmm. And so get a clean slate. It's like if you're driving around and you have a lot of bugs on your windshield, clean them with your windshield wiper, and then start figuring out if dairy is another bug for your windshield or not.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing with ketogenic dieters, especially new ketogenic dieters, isn't necessarily whether or not you're having dairy, it's how much you're having. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of times when people start the ketogenic diet, they will just have massive amounts of dairy because they don't really understand that maybe they do have a problem with it or maybe they don't, but regardless, they're probably consuming too much of it. And I think a lot of times I'll see people who, if maybe they've been doing keto for a while and they start to have some sort of digestive problems or they start to have, maybe they hit a plateau or something, and then assessing their dairy tolerance is probably a good thing to do.
Yeah, and so that's how we're going to chat how to specifically work that out. I think step one is just eliminating all of the dairy from you. Mm-hmm. When adding dairy back in, let's just then chat about the quality of the dairy. Mm-hmm. So a lot of things that people think are dairy are actually just fake foods. I mean, let's just be real about it.
Yeah, the orange Kraft singles that you get at the store is probably not your best source of dairy.
Velveeta, cheese sticks, this stuff is just not food. Mm-hmm. And so we're not, I don't even think of that stuff as actual dairy. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't get moldy, then it's not dairy, right? And so some of this stuff, I would say just remove that entirely and let's just start fresh from what dairy is. If you're gonna be sourcing dairy, especially cream and milk or cheeses, I would go for raw and grass-fed if possible. Why is that? Because you're gonna get a lot of these active nutrients in there and enzymes that actually help you digest the dairy, but also are much more healthy for you as far as an option of dairy.
Right. Yeah, and I think that finding those options is probably one of the hardest things to do. I think that most times when you go to typical grocery stores, you're more prone to just seeing the highly processed dairies, mm-hmm. and you're seeing a lot of, if you're seeing lower fat dairies, which a lot of people don't realize that a lower fat dairy usually means that there's a higher carb content, usually means that fat's been replaced with something else. So I think finding that quality source can be a little bit challenging for some people.
Yeah, and so also, when you're looking at fat, protein, all these things, people respond to dairy in different ways, but always just starting with a high quality actual protein source. And so when we're thinking of that, I'm thinking of cream and milk. If you can get it again raw, grass-fed, cheese. This should not be a packaged thing in a colored bag. This should be more like a wrapped with saran wrap in an actual cheese section, at a nice store, an actual cheese shop. Not, like you said, the Kraft singles or even the slices of things or shredded cheese that can live in this pouch for 18 months. You guys know what I'm talking about if we're looking at that. All the recipes in keto blogs that have the bright orange cheddar cheese that people sprinkle on top that's pre-shredded, that is not real food.
Right.
And so I'm just gonna throw that out there. That's just a fake food and that's not good for you. It's super oxidized fats. Fats in milk and in dairy generally should separate in liquid dairy and then should spoil rather quickly with things like cheese if they're not super processed.
Yeah, and just like how when we did a video where we talked about meat quality, just same thing, consuming the wrong types of dairy can be a lot more pro-inflammatory. It can cause a lot more problems and a lot of the things that you're typically trying to avoid on keto. And I think that can be one of the reasons why you start to see some conflicting results on a ketogenic diet is that, a keto diet that I'm following that is either consuming a responsible amount of dairy or consuming the right amount of dairy is going to be a lot different than maybe one that he could be following that is consuming a lot of these quote-unquote frankenfood dairy sources.
Right, and then I think additionally, just to kind of clear up a little bit more confusion about which dairy products are good or not, you start getting into some of the packaged dairy where you're in a tub. So that looks like yogurt, it looks like sour cream, cottage cheese, foods like that. Mm-hmm. Again, kind of on the end of not really real dairy products unless it's made kind of at the time. So then you have a spectrum of that. For instance, yogurt, you can get some that are locally made. that are in maybe glass jars, things like that. But if it's a mass-produced thing, just know that the quality is always going to be a little bit lower on that end. A little bit better though, because you're getting some probiotics with it, and it's not like they're digesting some of the milk sugars and the proteins that usually can be inflammatory for people.
Yeah, and I think that's another good thing to talk about too, is that a lot of the other dairy sources that you can be getting have had a lot of their beneficial factors removed through like pasteurization, homogenization. I'm not going to say that word.
Yeah, you'll get there. And so these things, what happens, like I said, milk should separate, cream should separate. You should have a lot of fat on there. So like the cream top of milks and creams and raw milk, stuff like that, a lot of those are becoming popular now, and you can buy cream that has even a fattier portion of the top, or a milk that has that fat on top that's non-homogenized. And so the reason homogenization is not great is because you're taking a tiny screen, you're pushing all the fat that you should have from the raw dairy that's really complete and great fats. You're pushing it through the screen so that it basically is suspended in the liquid. So you're damaging all that fat. Not good. And then the pasteurization is just heating the milk to a certain temperature, which basically kills all the beneficial compounds in the milk. So you have all these immunoglobulins, things that are great for your immune system, active compounds, enzymes that help you break down the milk. All that stuff is basically blasted away when you heat it up to a certain point and pasteurize it. So those things, if you get, again, raw is non-heated, homogenized is basically not pushed through a screen. So those things are great if you can do that. So that'll be kind of a basis of the food qualities and the things you should be choosing for actual real dairy, not the dairy like people think of cheese sticks and cream cheese.
Yeah.
Let's talk about now how you would introduce that. So we've cut out dairy for maybe, let's say, 30, 45, 60 days. Like I said, basically until you're at a stable point in your health and you don't notice all these changes happening again. So if you're noticing maybe for 4 months even that you're getting some rapid changes on a ketogenic diet and you're noticing a lot of new stuff, stick with it. Stick with it until you get a stable point for 30 days. Once you're feeling like you're charging ahead and like you're not having all these new things happening with your health, then start adding in dairy back from the highest fat point to the lowest fat point, if those are the things you want to eat. Sometimes people notice like, hey, I feel amazing right now. I don't even miss dairy. I don't want to add it back in, just leave it out. It can stall fat loss pretty easily. The sugars can be metabolized. And we've noticed for sure people on plateaus, we have them remove dairy, they blast through and they lose a lot more weight. And so especially if you're on keto for weight loss, I would say just keep it out even if you can tolerate it or not.
Yeah. Between the amount of sugar that you can find in some dairy sources as well as the inflammation that can come from it, that can definitely stall a lot of your progress. So like you said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I don't have a ton of dairy in my diet just because I notice that I feel a little bit better when I don't have it. But also, that's not the most optimal approach for everybody. So definitely figuring out what is best for you for your goal and adjusting it according to the changes you're trying to make.
Right. And so, okay, let's assume that you want to start adding it back in. Those things aren't an issue. You're at a stable point. I would go at a week by week approach. And I have an article on my website, and you can read all about this, and we'll link to it below. But generally, you want to start with, if you can, a raw cream, because it's going to be the highest amount of fat and the lowest amount of milk proteins in casein and lactose. So when you go higher fat like that, you actually have very 2 to 3% of possible, it's a majority of fat. Cream is essentially just the fat from the milk of the animal. And so start with that, add in a couple tablespoons a day to your coffee or to whatever you want, maybe some dishes that you're cooking with, and see how you respond to that. Things that check, not just for gut issues. Some people might feel like, okay, great, I had the dairy, yet I didn't have any bloating or digestive issues what people think of when they have dairy and react to it. Also, think about this: brain fog, joint pain from inflammation, skin issues, lack of continued weight loss. These are all other markers of how dairy can affect somebody systemically, rather than just from a digestive standpoint.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it than just thinking about whether or not your stomach was able to digest it. I know that for me personally, having a little bit more dairy, the brain foggy is a thing that I'll start to notice a little bit more. I'll start, if I'm traveling a lot more, I'm eating a lot more meals on the road that tend to put a little bit more cheese in things, I'll notice that I'm not quite as sharp as I normally am. So that's one of the reasons why I'll tend to keep it out, but that is definitely, it's important to not just consider whether or not you had bloating or not after eating the dairy.
And then after that point, if you can get raw milk, I would choose for that. And so we're actually in a state, we're in Texas right now, it's illegal to have raw milk, it's ridiculous. So if you're I used to live in California and you can get raw milk there, so if you can get it there, go ahead and try that out. If not, I would just move to raw milk cheeses. So you should be able to get raw milk cheese anywhere you're at, so we can have raw milk cheese here. So then try that out for a week again, have a couple ounces a day, see how you feel, keep it on top of the cream if you want, and then see how you feel again. And then after that, you can start adding in some of the additional things like we talked about, like the tub-based dairy, cream cheese, if you really want to go that route, and then yogurt, sour cream, and cottage cheese are more on the fermented end, so you shouldn't notice too many things, but again, going to be a little bit more processed and not the best option if you didn't choose dairy.
Yeah, and I think really important point to drive home with this too is that you're not introducing all of the dairy choices at once or not making a ton of other changes in your diet at the same time.
Everything else stable.
Yeah, because if you're changing a lot of other things, it's going to be really hard to decide what is actually causing the problem. Maybe if you do experience some sort of brain fog or bloating, it could be related to another food that you've introduced. So if you're trying to do this as honest as possible and get the best answer on whether or not you can tolerate dairy, it's going to be good to really limit other changes in your diet as much as possible.
Right, and it can be easy on a ketogenic diet when you're first starting it to be overwhelmed with all the recipes, all of the fat bombs, all of these things where people use excessive amounts of dairy and usually in a non-real food form. And so now that you know kind of how to eliminate it, what choices you should make and how to reintroduce it, try it out. I bet you'll find that at least you don't tolerate or like some sort of dairy, or you've eliminated a whole chunk of food that just is not real food to begin with.
Yeah, and I think another thing to talk about is how a lot of times people, they tend to pin all of the responsibility on dairy being bad on lactose, but it's actually not always lactose that is a problem. Sometimes it can be the casein that's causing a problem. So that's why it's really important that you're testing these different dairy sources too. Just because one doesn't work for you doesn't mean that another won't.
Exactly. So if you guys have a type of dairy that maybe you're questioning, we didn't cover in this video, is it good, is it not, is it real, is it fake? Why don't you pop that in the comments below? We'll try to respond and get you as much information as you need. If you like the video, hit like, subscribe to our channel. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, I am Dr. Anthony Gustin.
And I'm the ketologist.
Thank you for watching.